Kia ora and welcome to Tino Pai podcast, where we delve into the raw and real stories of individuals navigating life's diverse journeys. From the courageous voices of the queer community to those overcoming addiction, from mental health warriors to frontline heroes shaping our communities. We're here to amplify lived experiences. Join us as we uncover the triumphs, challenges, and resilience of the human spirit. No mai, haere mai, and welcome to Tino Pai podcast. Kia ora, welcome to Tino Pai podcast. My name is Tamihana. I am your host today. If you don't know me, I work in regional public health at Te Whatu Ora, or Health New Zealand as they call it now, and I work in the suicide prevention post-prevention coordinator for the Wellington Region. And today we are shining a light on Rangatahi Voices for Change, an inspiring initiative led by Health New Zealand, Te Whatu Ora, the Cancer Society and the Regional Kai Network Advocacy Group. This project aims to empower young people, especially our Māori, Pacific whānau, to find their voices and become powerful advocates for change in their community. With a full-day workshop planned for the 20th of May 2025 at Pātaka in Porirua, involving secondary schools from across the mutu in the Wellington region. The kaupapa is all about building confidence and skills in public advocacy, whether it's in health, democracy, human rights or civic engagement. And today we're going to explore why youth voice matters. How this initiative is helping Rangatahi step into leadership and what it means to be a young change maker in Aotearoa. And joining us today from the Regional Kai Network Advocacy Group is Angela McLeod. With over 20 years of experience driving change, she is a seasoned leader, a passionate community advocate and a proud local business owner in Upper Hutt. Angela has served as a councillor for Upper Hutt as well. Her impact stretches far beyond local government. Angela has been a leading voice in national conversations, championed pay equity, flexible work legislation and food labelling reforms. She also a fierce advocate for women's rights, including pushing for law reform and reducing violence against women. Angela brings deep experience in policy leadership and development through her work with Rural Women New Zealand, where she's managed key relationships across government and academia and previously held the role of acting chief executive. She's also worked in Parliament as a policy research and communications advisor. So we are honoured to have Angela with us today. I have to catch my breath, Angela. That's quite a work of mahi you've done there.
Yes.
Kia ora.
It's a lot of fun and is my passion. So I guess it is fun. It's never work. It's never mahi. It's just what I do. And you know, I've even taken some of that internationally and been at the UN, you know, championing women's rights at the UN. So yeah, and other places around the world. So
really a lot of your work is really based around that equity kind of space, isn't it?
And justice, equity and justice.
Yeah. And so we talk. I mean, when I read that out and I think about what you're doing now, you're currently with the Kai Network
yes.
Advocacy. And what do you do currently in there?
Well, I work with the Advocacy Network doing projects that we're going to talk about today, but also we did some work through the long-term plan process with councils last year, you know, pushing for that whole equity of access of food and asking councils to take a food lens over their work. So, you know, it's really important, and I have the skills to be able to do that on behalf of the communities. The Regional Kai Networks is Greater Wellington Region, really, and we came together to be able to put information together in order to do such change, but also to support each other, because there are a lot of people doing a lot of really cool stuff throughout the region, but we all have that same need, you know, the equity of access of nutritious food. And because there are people missing out and there is a lot of food waste at the other end. You know, it's a big thing, and surprisingly necessary, and surprisingly not seen as important by some.
I really want to talk more about that, but we're not here for that today. No. But I think we should catch up again in a future podcast. But we're here today to talk about the Rangatahi Voices for Change workshop, which is happening on May the 20th at Pātaka in Porirua. So I guess let's start from the beginning. You know, what inspired the creation of this workshop, the kaupapa? What was the genesis and of that?
We talked about it probably 18 months ago, about putting together a program or a pilot program to be able to gather children. And I'm not sure exactly why it came about, but in the Regional Kai Network we talked about the importance of our young people, or sharing the knowledge that we have, because there isn't really any training or there's a lot of support, but not necessarily any training on how to use your voice for change. And so we put a pilot together, and there were several of us that started this off using the skills that we had. We had members of the Cancer Society, and it just kind of morphed into this project with a partnership between Te Whatu Ora and the Cancer Society to put this project together. We did 1 day workshop down in Upper Hutt, and then we thought, okay, what we'll do is we'll go into schools. And so we built a relationship with the colleges in the Greater Wellington Region, and we went and did little workshops with students in the schools last year, which worked really well, and all different discussions and different needs, and it was really good. So then we thought, maybe we'll put it all together in 1 day, that it's easier for the schools and the students to do that than to put away a couple of hours 3 times a year. So it's a moving target.
It's kind of a growth, a genesis, and moving on from...
We could go back to going into schools. This could be this 1 day workshop. The schools that come along, the students might go back and say, hey, we need to do this, or the teachers, and we might end up doing it as a bigger project. But it's really important. It fits everybody's kaupapa. It fits the Regional Kai Network, the Te Whatu Ora, public health, and Cancer Society, because it's all related, this whole food.
And I guess, you know, the importance of it is empowering our tamariki to find their voice.
Yeah, absolutely.
In this as well. So when I kind of think of tamariki, especially between what we're targeting here is year 11s to 13, I kind of think back to, which was the previous really successful campaign, was the hashtags, which was created back in, I think it was 2010. And for our listeners who don't know about that project, it was a group of young people with the support of a regional public health, I think Leah Clark led it, and they did a paper about smoke-free and smoking in cars with tamariki under the age of 18, and in Wānau it was 11 times higher than the average. And so it was the community that reached out and said, what can we do here? And so the voices actually came from the young people, and they're the ones that drove the change. So I think it's something really important that we need to empower people, because they can make the difference.
Yeah, and the other one is the climate change.
Yes.
Rallies and protests and movement and campaign that Sophie Hanford, started. One of the team as a student. Yeah, some great stuff happening.
Great. So it's really good to hear that the collective is starting to create this project for our young people. So was there a specific age or need you identified, or was it just that kind of conversations that you had that kind of come from it?
Well, we felt that this age group, year 12s and 13s, are just about to kind of like leave school, and so it's about their next steps and also I think it fits in with, I guess the word would be expectation of what young people are kind of allowed to do, you know, that unwritten rule, you know, when you first start college, year 9s and 10s, that, you know, yes, they're articulate, but the expectation is they're kind of learning. I guess we've never really kind of discussed as to why, in particular, it's year 12s and 13s, except that they are the school leaders. You know, when they talk in most schools now, or colleges, they have a leadership kind of a program, and so we're hoping to dovetail that with this, so that because they don't have it in the school, so we're able to provide it, and then when they leave school or want to campaign within their school, for example. We had one group that wanted to talk about cell phones and you know, the ban on cell phones, and they did the project within the school.
Yeah.
So,
you know, what ways or this, you know, this workshop will help young people understand their power and influence kind of health related, you know, decision making. You know, what are some of the perhaps tools and pathways that are going to be kind of highlighted during the workshop?
Okay. Well, we've got Sophie coming along and actually talking to us.
Okay, cool.
I know, it's going to be really cool. And so she's got a lot of experience and knowledge of grassroots campaign to actually then also being a local government. She's a city councillor or district councillor, I think, in Kapiti. So, you know, she's going to be able to, you know, share all that, and she's really looking forward to it with the students. And so that learning, there's a few of us other speakers that are going to talk practical tools and knowledge. One of the pieces that I include is how to recognise different kind of personalities in people and different what different people focus on, and therefore how you can build up a team using these different frameworks or different personality profiles, if we want to be kind of technical about it. But also that's about how do you engage with people in such a way that your message resonates with them. Because if you go into a select committee or speaking at a rally or a march or, you know, your local government, you put a submission in, and hopefully, you know, some of these students will want to do that. And even at school, if they want to go and talk to the board, they kind of need to, you know, learn about the different people that they're going to be speaking to. You know, someone might want to hear figures, someone might want to hear good they're going to look, someone else is going to want to know how this project or plan will help people, you know, so it's about understanding that. Victoria, Mandy is speaking, and she's speaking on the practicalities of putting a project together in a community project, you know, a building, a piece of infrastructure, and how they did that and how you might do that. So lots of different bits and pieces, you know, how to communicate, how to write, how to, and towards, you know, and the rest of the day we'll be doing like little workshops. So that at the end of the day, the outcome, we hope, is that these students go away with some practical tools and strategies to use their voice and how to use it effectively and for change.
It would be really interesting to see, you know, their journey after.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, because they have, you know, we're in the digital age now, and they've got so many platforms that they can navigate. And, you know, I'm 50 odd and I struggled with TikTok, you know, but they it's second nature to them,
absolutely.
Kind of thing. Snapchat. So they can reach their audience a lot more quickly, a lot more broadly as well.
And that has its, say it in a nice term, you know, some hiccups.
Yeah.
And so we're hoping, you know, we have a slot where we're hoping to fill with somebody that can talk about understanding how to address and acknowledge and notice and learn about what truth and misinformation and disinformation looks like, and how to be safe, because you know, that is really important. And you know, I personally have had that experience of having some, you know, unsafe attractions, I guess, or you know, interactions on social media, and so it's vital for our young people to feel safe and be safe, and to know the difference between,
because you without acknowledging, when you're in it and you're advocating, you are putting yourself on a pedestal for people to, don't want to use the word target, but your profile.
Well, you are. You're putting your head above the parapet. Yeah. You are.
And so educating our young tamariki around that's super important, because it's not something that we had to deal with.
No.
I know when I was going,
well, we didn't have
I didn't even have email, kind of thing. Now the world is their oyster.
I think I got my first cell phone in 1999 or something, 98 or 90. Like, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
There's so much, it's just at your fingertips.
Yeah. And they're living in this new world. So being able to touch on that topic, I think, is super important. I just want to touch a little bit about the youth involvement in terms of the workshops aimed at. I guess just around what I was trying to say here. I guess was there any form of co-design of the kaupapa, and I guess getting the voices from our tamariki, our year 11s to 13s involved?
Sure. So we did that. It's not technically probably a co-design thing. Some of our planning team are working with youth, and so their experiences have been really useful in this. But also what we did is we surveyed, or if that's the correct term, for the students that were involved. So we came and we asked, at our first pilot workshop, we asked the feedback from the students and those that were there learning, and then we did the same through the school. So the students got some questions they could ask before the workshop, and then some questions after. And the regional public health team did great work, talking to the teachers constantly, with a couple of the teachers constantly, about what's working and what isn't, and what needed to be included for different parts of the curriculum and things like that. So we don't have necessarily a youth representative on the organising team, but lots of kind of tentacles into that and feedback.
Yeah.
So we do the same here. Part of the registration is there's some questions to answer, and then afterwards we will ask the same. But I think that we will probably recognise some youth at this event that we will be able to involve or ask for their involvement in future work. Absolutely.
I think it's a perfect opportunity,
absolutely
because to kind of continue that empowerment is to perhaps get their voices.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you definitely done that through the little workshops that you've done in schools, and this is just the eventuation of it. And I guess that's the next step, isn't it? To get them more involved.
Yeah, we spent some time with one of them asking what they wanted us to do, and we always asked them the subjects or topics they wanted to work on.
Yeah.
So it was their
voices
need,
that was being heard. I guess when we're talking about the workshop, it's happening on the 20th of May. What are some of the key skills or kind of the advocacy tools that the participants will walk away with? So how might they use this, I guess, in the real world, when they go back to school, perhaps when they're talking with their peers, because we've talked about, them advocating to their deans or to their MPs. But I guess what they're experiencing in their life is their peers as well. So, what kind of skills are we looking for them to take away with? For them to learn. Yeah.
Well, communication skills. There will be, the opportunity to learn. Or at least a future opportunity to learn how to write a speech, maybe.
Yes.
How to put that together using facts and figures and emotion. To reach the different personalities that they'll be reaching to. How to work with others in a team environment, which others they need in a team. They will learn, about sort of planning and strategy. I've reached out, we have reached out as a team to people that plan campaigns, if that's the term we want to use, but that's the term we understand, right? So we're hoping that at the end of that the students will be able to go back to their community, whether it be their school or local community, and work and collaborate with others to build whatever they need or want to change. It could be one group we met with last year wanted to bring back the smoke-free legislation. Yes. Another young woman that we wanted to do some work around rare diseases, you know, because she has one and she knows that the support is not necessarily there. There's a couple of young men, or one in particular locally here that I'm working with, who is really, keen to have more support for the carers of disabled people. You know, so there's lots and lots of different things that they can get involved with. And personally, I'm available to help them after the day, because I'm of an age where, you know, people think, you can carry on doing that, Angela. Yeah, sure. But the times are changing, and I want to be able to, people need to be, because times are changing and because things aren't always happening. You know, we still don't have pay equity, for example. We still don't have equal pay for work of equal value. Somebody has to keep doing that work. And I'm going to get to an age where I might not be able to do that. So teaching or passing on knowledge and understanding to the younger generation to be able to carry on that work is...
just to continue on to what you're talking about. What kind of is there going to be access for that mentoring to be kind of built upon?
I mean, I don't know what it looks like.
But this is the importance of the workshop, right?
Absolutely.
To start generating those questions.
Yeah, and you can't just send them back to their schools.
No.
With the tools and knowledge and no support. It's not how it works. It's not how it works in adult life. So, it's why would we expect it of our youth? Yeah. Or young people?
Yeah, awesome. They're doing this workshop on the 20th. Mm-hmm. So, I guess how will the success be kind of seen?
Okay, it's not always an easy one to measure.
Yes.
And I'm not a evaluation expert or a measurement person, except that I will see more young people around the table or presenting to things. It's easy to measure that sort of thing. It's easy to measure submission numbers because all of the councils and the Parliament anyway collect data around the submitters and submissions, and so you can measure that. Yeah. But also, I don't know. I mean, I'm looking at two people. Well, one in particular that I know knows about that evaluation and stuff. So it's we have to do it, and there must be a way to do it qualitatively.
Yeah, because for me, being outside of this project, for me to measure it will be the involvement of the people picking up the torch, and I guess this event continuing, or events continuing to continue that momentum and kind of thing, because I see the strength. I see lots of strength in our tamariki that they don't even know, they don't back themselves enough. So I think this is a really important kaupapa, and to manage that or to measure, because there's people want to know the data and the ticks and the X's, but for me it always comes back to people. Yeah. It always comes back to the change that they've been empowered to make.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
And what I've noticed, I've been invited along to some youth forums and things, and I just look and hear the discussions and what I've been asked to say or questions I've been asked to answer, and I can categorically state that this generation is the one that's going to change the world, and they're going to change it for the better.
Absolutely.
Some of the discussions, they absolutely get gender inequality. Yeah. They absolutely get the climate change crisis we have. They absolutely get cost of living. They get it. And so it's actually really important to build up that skill, capability and capacity for them to change the world.
And I feel that one from them.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
I feel the energy coming through.
Yeah.
I've got children at college, and although they're not probably as actively involved, they talk about it, and they know people who are, and they comment on the climate. You know, they know all about gender identity. You know, and the acronyms and what all that means.
Yeah.
So it's they kind of, I see it, they're starting to wait, but starting to, they're probably a little bit of an impatient generation.
And it must be, honestly, it must be really hard to manage for some parents and communities and schools to manage that energy.
Yes.
Because for some that I've seen and met, it's phenomenal. And you're right, they're impatient. And that impatience, it must be really hard to manage.
And they're impatient because it affects them.
Yeah, absolutely it does.
Not the older generations. And so it affects them. And so and this workshop will empower them to become advocates for that.
It's that Chinese understanding, right? You don't build a tree to sit under. You build the tree for the future generations to sit under. Yeah. I just really implore people to think about, or the people that are listening, to think about how they can be involved and, you know, talk to their schools, their families about, you know, coming along or getting in touch. I think we haven't yet, but we should build a kind of a space where we can connect online somehow and, you know, build up that connection. But yeah, just to come along. Join us for the day.
Great, and people can do that? They can just turn up on the day?
Well, they really need to kind of register because we need, for catering purposes and numbers. You know, so there's an Eventbrite link, but also all of the schools have been emailed the information. So it's probably just about getting in touch with careers advisors, heads of department, you know, the deputy principals and find out where that information is if you haven't heard it. Just talk to your teachers and ask, because you know, or families, just to find that information, because giving you an Eventbrite link verbally is like blah, 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 blah. So but you can find it on Eventbrite. I think you probably should be able to search under the term rangatahi, and then that will find it, I just suspect.
We'll post it on our social media as well for people. So if you're a young person, you're listening to this, and you know it's resonating with you, we'll post the details in our description. But yeah, go advocate to your careers advisors, to your deans. If you want to be a part of this, jump on board. It's on, is it Tuesday, May the 20th, 2025 at Pātaka in Porirua. Would love to see you there. Angela, thank you so much for coming in and sharing the beautiful work that you're doing for this project. Really appreciated your time.
It's no problem at all.
Cool.
Ka kite.
Ka kite. Thank you everyone for listening. Remember to subscribe on all the major platforms, and if you're listening to this and you're in college, come along on May the 20th. Awesome. Thanks everyone. Ka kite. Thank you for tuning in to the Tino Pai podcast. If you've been moved by today's stories and want to stay connected, be sure to subscribe and follow us on your favourite podcast platform. Together, let's continue to honour and celebrate the richness of human experience. Until next time, take care and keep shining your light. Ka kite.